Hi! Again, in this video I'm going to stay on the subject of dream goals, and I've already looked at two of the most common ones, which are flying and dream sex. And yeah, it's great to do all of the things that you can't normally do while you're in the real world, but now we're going to look at something a little bit more productive.
I am the darkness falling from wisdom. You have no power here.
These days, my main dream goal is, when I become lucid, just to wander around in my subconscious mind, and when some negativity inevitably arises, I confront it. As I've said before, these negativities are usually manifestations of irrational fears and negative thought patterns. And these thoughts and fears are always there in the back of your mind, even when you're awake, and they control the way that you view the world and the way that you behave. But of course, when you're dreaming, they're easier to notice because they appear as the people, places, events, the demons and monsters, entities, bogeymen, strange creatures, and all manner of other generally unpleasant things that make up the content of your dream. In the past, whenever I'd encounter these negativities, I'd fight back, and I'd developed all kinds of dream weapons and superpowers in order to obliterate these things. But ultimately I realised that they react much in the same way as an attacker in the real world would. So if you respond in fear or anger, you'll only make the situation worse. So if I fought back and defeated them, they'd just turn up again later on or in another dream. So nowadays, when I encounter them, I simply confront them and speak to them. I ask them why, as a part of my subconscious mind, they feel the need to attack me. I tell them they're a part of me and I'm a part of them, and that we're part of the same thing, and that fighting is going to get us nowhere. Because ultimately, in the dream, you're fighting with yourself, you're fighting with your own mind, and everybody knows it's never a good idea to beat yourself up.
I'm kicking my ass!
Because if that's the type of thing that's going on in your dreams, that inner conflict, quite literally, then it's equally what's going on in the back of your mind, unnoticed while you're awake, affecting the way that you behave. As I mentioned in an earlier video, when I confronted an entity that had lived in my cupboard for nearly 20 years, it somehow eliminated my fear of the dark overnight. And that fear is quite a big one. I'd imagine it's one of these inherited irrational fears that comes from our ancestors from a long time ago, when there was something scary lurking in the dark, something that probably wanted to eat us. And that fear is still passed on to us even now when it's no longer necessary, and it can have a big hold over you. And it's not just these inherited irrational fears that have a big hold over us. As you probably know, when we're growing up, we develop all kinds of fears and negative thinking habits, which also can affect the way that we behave. So conquering these while you're in a dream can be very beneficial to your well-being. Personally, I still have quite a way to go with this unique method of reprogramming yourself from the inside. And I know that one day I'll have to face up to two of my biggest fears, the claustrophobia demon and the emetophobia monster. I'd imagine that the dream manifestations of this irrational fear that I have of confined spaces and vomiting won't be very pleasant. I'll probably be sat upon by a giant muppet in a dark underground cave until I can calmly talk sense to him. Or I'll be confronted by a huge vomit monster who can only be defeated by being eaten whole. But I'm confident that conquering these things in my dreams will make a big difference to how they affect me in the real world. And you might not always wake up after defeating a negativity and find that you've lost your fear of the dark, or you're suddenly no longer afraid of vomiting. But just the act of facing up to these fears in your dreams somehow uncovers them. It seems that facing up to even some of the less obvious fear manifestations somehow brings them to the surface, and it makes them more obvious to you when you're awake. You can then see how they affect your behaviour in the real world and then work on them while you're awake. And what I've found is that after a while of working on these things in your dreams and in the real world, eventually what happens is you'll be facing up to a particular negativity in a dream, and the dream character or a host of dream characters will come in and start to help you. And it's an amazing thing to stand in a world created by your own mind and see these little subconscious projections, little superheroes programmed by you, manifestations of positive emotions that you've been nurturing, to see them come in and take over and handle these negative thoughts and fears on your behalf. Of course, when this happens, it's indicative of the fact that you're now dealing with these thoughts and fears automatically, which leaves you free to go to the next level of lucid dreaming. exploring inner dimensions, different states of consciousness like out-of-body experiences or sleep paralysis-induced lucid dreams, as I call them, which have a clarity and realness to them unlike any normal lucid dream, and also provide a much more effective way of accessing your subconscious, your deep unconscious, and some would say even beyond that. And that's what we're going to look at in the next video. Thanks for watching.